Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Essential Issues Weekly, where I talk about DC Comics 1 week after their release on the Ultra tier of the DC Universe Infinite subscription service. In each installment, I pick out an assortment of comics to talk about as a DC fan and also explore what, if anything, they have to say about the essential issues of real life. Now, warning, full spoilers for everything that I talk about. This is your first and only warning that many spoilers lie ahead. Right now, we're taking a look at comics originally released to the Ultra tier on January 30th, 2024, originally published January 2nd, 2024. First from that, it's just two. It's going to be a short one, I think, this week. First is Batman number 141, where Batman is really reaching the climax of his confrontation with Zur-En-Arrh, the kind of like backup personality he created for himself to kick in whenever his mind was going to be overtaken by aliens or brainwashing and stuff like that. So it's a defense mechanism he created for himself that has gone totally awry, and now it has actually kind of left his body. I can't remember how. That was kind of glossed over and explained a little bit in the last issue. But now Zur-En-Arrh has inhabited Failsafe. Failsafe, if you're not familiar, is kind of another backup that Bruce Wayne created in case, he ever killed anyone. Then Failsafe, based on like crazy Amazo technology and technology also from like the Metal Men. I mean, like basically the best android, cyborg, robot technology in the DC universe was employed to create this thing that would kick in if Batman ever went bad and needed to be taken down. Now that robot has had its intelligence, its volition replaced with that of Zur-En-Arrh. So basically, we've got all the worst that Batman could possibly create combined into one being that is bent on taking Batman down because it has concluded that Batman is too soft and is diverting from his mission because he's caring about his surrogate family, his adopted family, too much. And so that's really what's at the heart of this conflict. I think where we're headed is for a shift. Well, maybe. This could be how they resolve it. How do you do this? How do you take Batman, put him up against himself, and actually a much more powerful version of himself? Part of what's going on in his internal monologuing as he's running away from Failsafe / Zur-En-Arrh and trying to figure out how to deal with them is he's trying to outthink himself or second guess himself. He's recognizing that Zur-En-Arrh is going to be able to anticipate what Batman would do, and so he has to try and kind of like trick himself. I think one way that he could defeat Zur-En-Arrh is for Batman himself to undergo a change in his character at this point, so that he thinks differently enough from Zur-En-Arrh that Zur-En-Arrh would not be able to anticipate, what he's going to do. And so I think that in some way, I could be wrong. This would actually, I think I would find this idea pretty gratifying, dramatically speaking. I think what could work here is that Batman would realize, I have been cutting myself off from family too much. I need to, reconnect with them in some way. So I don't know exactly what the character change is going to be because Batman has been disconnecting himself from the surrounding Bat family. And that's part of what this whole mess is all about. And so I like that. I think that could work as a sensible way that Batman could outsmart Zur-En-Arrh. And on a moral thematic level, I think that sends a good message that, we are not meant to live this life as just lone vigilantes doing our own thing, not trusting other people, not connecting emotionally, relationally with other people. That's a really important message, maybe especially for us as Christian geeks who are meant to live intentionally in this world and in relationship in this world. That's what we are made for, even though it goes against many of our natural inclinations a lot of the time. So I think that would be a good message to kind of like close out this whole saga. However, from a long-term standpoint, I'm not sure how I feel about it because I don't want Batman to really be well-adjusted and to, be emotionally and philosophically healthy. I kind of like Batman functioning as a tragic character that serves as something of a cautionary tale for us. So if they do go this route of him kind of like mending his relationships with his family, that really, in my mind, needs to be temporary. Or if they're going to do that, then even as he is seeking to heal those relationships and mend those bridges, I need to see the conflict and the difficulty he has in doing that long term, because it's important. It's Batman's value to me, thematically speaking, is as a tragic figure, as a broken figure, you know? And so hopefully they won't kind of like heal things or fix things too much, but I'm think that's where things are probably going here. Either way, I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out. I just love it when heroes are put up against a villain that is like obviously more capable, more powerful than they are, and it's like, how in the world are they going to get out of this? Now, it really hangs or falls on what the writer decides to do and whether or not the resolution feels cheap and unearned, you know. But I think that there could be a very satisfying ending to this whole thing, and we'll just kind of see how it plays out. I am a lot less confident in the series Kneel Before Zod. Issue 1 came out, and clearly with that title, they are pulling from the more classic old school vision of who Zod is from the comics of, I guess, the 50s maybe is when that character was introduced. I'm not sure. And then, of course, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, where the phrase, I believe, comes from, kneel before Zod. I don't think it was used in comics before then, but I could be wrong. But this version of Zod is really a conqueror. He's obsessed with ruling. He's extremely arrogant. And he's just about war and conquering and defeating, and I'm not really into that version of Zod. I'm not sure if it's because of Man of Steel and the version of Zod presented there, or if it's just because this kind of character wouldn't resonate with me to begin with. But the fact is, there has been another version of Zod presented in the movie Man of Steel, which I think it makes him so much more interesting and relatable as, you know, speaking of, a cautionary tale. In Man of Steel, his purpose that he was bred for, that he was genetically built for, was to preserve the people of Krypton, to preserve the race of Krypton, no matter the cost. And so that self-preservation, not only self, it's not a purely selfish preservation, it's preservation of self and those that are valued by oneself. And we can all relate to that on some level. And we might even find ourselves, for the sake of protecting those that we care about, being uncaring and cold toward other people, you know? And so I think there's a relatable kind of cautionary tale in that version of Zod. But in the version of Zod being presented here, I don't connect with a desire to just conquer for, I guess, the sake of conquering and for dominance of Kryptonians in the universe. They're also playing around with his relationship with his son in this issue. I think that's going to be a main focus. And I'm normally really on board for like a father-son dynamic, a father-son story. I don't, at this point in my life as a dad, feel this dynamic. Maybe I would feel it more if I had like more of an adversarial relationship with my own dad, or if my boys had more of an adversarial relationship with me, but that's just not been true of, you know, either of those periods in my life. And so, but I think that other readers will certainly, you know, there's a number of readers that I'm sure will relate to a more adversarial relationship with their father, unfortunately. But I feel like both of these characters are so angry and so just kind of like one track and unreasonable in their anger. We barely see any softness in Zod's son. He basically casts him out, and I think we're going to see Zod's son on his own, maybe going through an interesting character arc separated from his father, so I'm open to the possibilities there. But right now, as it stands, these guys just both seem very one-note angry, and I can't really relate to this father-son relationship or to Zod's desire to conquer, apparently for the sake of merely conquering or for Kryptonian dominance. And so at this point, Kneel Before Zod, number 1, didn't do much for me. The art style really is a little bit too angular and slightly more simplistic than I would like, maybe. I'm willing to, skim through issue number 2 to see if they start taking Zod's son in an interesting direction, a more relatable direction. But it's Kneel Before Zod is not off to a good start for me. This week I chose the Black Lantern ring to represent just kind of my summary feelings about the comics I read. Why black? I was like, what color represents, I don't know, kind of meh. It's not that I was just bored out of my mind with these 2 issues. Actually, I really enjoyed Batman 141. It just wasn't kind of like, it's just the middle of the story, so it wasn't like a really compelling part of the story for me. I was feeling pretty indifferent about Kneel Before Zod. So, I think if I was frustrated, it was just a slog to read through these, I'd probably wear the red ring, to at least say, I'm a little bit irritated, these were not working for me at all this week. But that's not where I'm at. I was like, so what represents just kind of a flat line? I guess if I'm feeling a little bit dead, then okay, maybe the death ring. So that's why I'm wearing the black ring this week. But yeah, I'm not feeling bad overall about the comics I read this week, particularly Batman 141. I think that's probably cooking up some good things, but I think those are all of my thoughts on comic books for now. What's getting your attention this week in the Ultra tier, or if you're on the Standard tier, that too? Which of these books maybe that I've looked at has your attention, or do you have any thoughts or hopes for in the future? I always love getting your comments and interacting with you guys in the comments below. I hope also you'll check out christiangeekcentral.com. A lot more content going on there that you can discover. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
I'm not interested.